Today, we are looking at a story that has generated attention among currency watchers, particularly those following the Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, and developments inside the international banking system. The story involves an observation at a Chase private client branch where a customer reportedly saw a new banknote processing machine positioned behind the teller area. According to the account being circulated online, the machine appeared to include Vietnamese Dong or VND among the currencies available in its system, while Iraqi Dinar or IQD and Indonesian Rupiah or IDR were reportedly not visible on the displayed currency list. Now, before we go any further, there is an important distinction that needs to be made. Seeing a currency listed on a banknote processing machine does not automatically mean that a bank has announced that currency for expanded exchange services, and the absence of another currency from a visible screen does not prove that the currency cannot be processed. This is especially important when discussing Iraqi dinar developments because currency processing technology can be configured according to the requirements of individual banks, branches, machines, and operating environments. The machine described in the report has been identified based on the information provided as a GZEX plus Devrient Pronote 1.5. GZEX plus Devrient, commonly known as G plus D, is a major company involved in payment technologies, banknote processing, security printing, and currency management systems. Equipment of this type is designed to help financial institutions count, authenticate, process, and in some configurations sort banknotes. That basic function is important because modern banks routinely use specialized equipment to improve cash handling efficiency. A machine can be configured to recognize particular currencies and denominations, and its software or currency libraries can be updated as banking requirements change. Therefore, the presence of Vietnamese dong on a machine should be viewed primarily as evidence that the equipment has the capability or configuration to recognize that currency. It should not automatically be interpreted as a forecast of a future exchange rate event. The same principle applies to the reported absence of Iraqi dinar from the visible display. If IQD was not shown, several explanations are possible. The currency may not have been enabled on that particular machine. It may have been located elsewhere within the software. The visible screen may have represented only a selection of currencies relevant to that branch. Or the bank may simply not have configured the machine for IQD processing at that location. Without an official statement from Chase or documentation showing the machine's exact configuration, we cannot responsibly conclude that the bank is preparing for a major Iraqi dinar event. However, there is still an interesting financial question here. Why would Vietnamese dong appear on such equipment in the first place? Vietnam has become increasingly important in international trade and manufacturing. Vietnamese companies participate heavily in global supply chains, while Vietnam maintains significant commercial relationships with the United States, Asia, and other major economies. For financial institutions serving customers involved in international commerce, remittances, travel, investment, or corporate payments, the ability to recognize and process multiple foreign currencies can have practical value. In other words, a VND listing may simply reflect legitimate banking demand. For Iraqi dinar followers, this distinction is critical. The Iraqi dinar remains a currency that attracts substantial online speculation about future exchange rate changes. But the strongest evidence for any major currency policy development would come from official sources such as the Central Bank of Iraq, Iraq's Ministry of Finance, internationally recognized financial institutions, or formal banking announcements. A photograph of a cash processing machine is not equivalent to an official currency announcement. At the same time, the development does highlight something worth watching: the modernization of cash management systems. As banks upgrade their infrastructure, they increasingly depend on sophisticated machines capable of processing different banknotes, identifying security characteristics, counting cash accurately, and reducing manual handling. This is part of a much broader transformation taking place throughout the global financial system. For Iraq, banking modernization is particularly important. The Iraqi economy has been working toward stronger banking controls, improved compliance, better electronic payment infrastructure, and greater integration with international financial standards. These changes matter because the long term credibility and usability of the Iraqi dinar depend on more than the printed banknotes themselves. A currency's international role is influenced by monetary policy, inflation, reserves, trade flows, banking infrastructure, financial regulation, and confidence in the institutions supporting that currency. That is why IQD followers should pay attention to banking reforms rather than focusing exclusively on rumors about a particular exchange rate. In the short term, this chase related report is unlikely to change the official value of the Iraqi dinar. Unless a recognized financial authority announces a new exchange rate policy, the existing market and official mechanisms remain the more reliable indicators. The story could nevertheless encourage additional discussion about how major US banks handle foreign currency. If large financial institutions continue expanding or upgrading their currency processing capabilities, that may indicate an ongoing need to support a wider range of international transactions. But again, that is an infrastructure observation, not proof of an impending Iraqi dinar revaluation. There is another important lesson here concerning the difference between currency processing and currency exchange. A banknote machine can recognize or count a banknote without the bank necessarily offering that currency for retail exchange. A machine's software library and a bank's customer facing foreign exchange services are two different things. A bank may have technology capable of identifying a particular currency while maintaining no public exchange service for that currency. Likewise, a bank can offer a foreign currency service without every branch necessarily maintaining the same equipment or inventory. This means that the appearance of VND on one machine at one branch should not be generalized to the entire Chase network. For Iraqi dinar followers, the most responsible approach is to separate what has actually been observed from what people believe that observation could mean. The observation, as described, is that a customer reportedly saw a G+D banknote processing machine at a Chase private client branch and noticed VND displayed on the machine. The interpretation is that this might indicate broader foreign currency preparation. The speculation goes further and asks whether currencies such as IQD could eventually be added. Those are three different things, and keeping them separate helps us avoid turning an interesting banking observation into an unsupported financial claim. Looking at the longer term picture, Iraq's banking sector has substantial room for development. Greater adoption of electronic payments, stronger compliance systems, improved bank governance, and deeper integration with international financial networks could gradually increase confidence in Iraq's financial system. If those reforms continue successfully, they could contribute to a healthier environment for the Iraqi dinar over time. But that does not tell us what the exchange rate will be tomorrow, next month, or next year. Exchange rates are determined by economic and monetary conditions, policy decisions, market demand, and international financial relationships. A sustainable change in the value of a currency generally requires fundamental economic support rather than simply a technological upgrade at a foreign bank. That is why today's report should be viewed as an interesting banking system development, but not as confirmation of an IQD revaluation. There is also a broader point about Vietnamese dong. The fact that VND appears in a currency processing system does not necessarily indicate a coming redenomination, revaluation, or dramatic change in value. Vietnam's currency operates within the country's monetary and exchange rate framework, and its presence in banking technology can simply reflect normal international commercial activity. The same analytical standard should be applied to the Iraqi dinar. If IQD were officially added to a major bank's foreign currency processing or exchange infrastructure, that could be an interesting development worth examining. But even then, analysts would need to ask important follow up questions. Is the service available to customers? Which denominations are supported? Is the currency being bought, sold, deposited, or merely authenticated? Is there an announced exchange rate? Is the service nationwide or limited to specific branches? Those questions would provide far more useful information than a photograph alone. So, what should IQD followers take away from this report? First, the reported Chase machine appears to be part of modern banknote processing technology, and its reported VND capability is noteworthy from a banking operations perspective. Second, the absence of IQD from the visible list should not be interpreted as proof that IQD is permanently excluded, nor should it be interpreted as evidence that an IQD event is imminent. Third, any future development involving the Iraqi dinar should be confirmed through official banking or government sources before it is treated as a genuine monetary policy development. And finally, the bigger story remains Iraq's financial modernization. If Iraqi banks continue improving compliance, payment infrastructure, international connectivity, and customer confidence, those developments could be much more consequential for the dinar over the long term than any single machine appearing inside an American bank branch. For now, there is no responsible basis to claim that this Chase observation confirms a new Iraqi dinar exchange rate or an imminent revaluation. It is better understood as an unverified report about currency processing technology that raises interesting questions but does not yet provide definitive answers. As always, keep an eye on official announcements, verified banking information, and measurable economic developments. In currency markets, patience and evidence are far more valuable than speculation. Thank you for watching Iraqi Dinar News. If you found this analysis useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video for more responsible and factual updates on the Iraqi dinar, Iraq's economy, and important developments in the global currency market. Remember, this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Always conduct your own research and consult a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions.